All right, we are good to go. Well, welcome everybody to the 2024-25 Media Day for the Men's Hockey League for Atlantic Hockey America. This is kind of our kickoff for the season. Games are coming up here quickly. I know it's been a busy offseason, so we're excited to get the season going. My name is Connor Grotenhuis. I am the Director of Communications for Atlantic Hockey America. I will be your moderator today. Before we begin, I've just got a couple ground rules here. Myself and Michelle will kind of start off with an intro, and then after that, we will go into each coach with a 10-minute time block. If you have a question for either Michelle or myself or one of the coaches, just use the chat feature to put your name and just a quick message in there, and we will call on people in the order that it's placed in the chat. Myself and Evan, our digital media manager, will be monitoring that. So we appreciate that. You'll be on mute until you are called upon, and then I will unmute you to ask your question, and then I'll put you back on mute. Just kind of order operations there. And then a recording of this call will be available on the AHA website and YouTube page following this conclusion. Before we bring on our first speaker, I just want to recap the Atlantic Hockey preseason coaches poll that was released this morning. Sacred Heart was picked to finish first among balloting of our AHA men's head coaches. They received 102 points and 5 first place votes. RIT came in second with 3 first place votes and 94 total points. Holy Cross was 1 point behind them with 93 total points, and they also received a first place vote. AIC came in fourth with a first place vote and 84 total points. Bentley was in fifth with 76 points. Niagara received the remaining first place vote and had a total of 67 points. Air Force came in seventh with 57 points. Canisius in eighth with 45 points. Mercyhurst after them with 36. Army with 32 points, and then Robert Morris rounded out the poll with 29 points. I also want to acknowledge and congratulate our preseason All AHA team. Again, this was based on balloting among our AHA men's head coaches. Liam McClinsky is on the team as a forward from Holy Cross. Mateo Giampa from Canisius as a forward, and our third and final forward was Matthew Wild from RIT. Our 2 defensemen were Chris Hedden from Air Force and Mac Godowski from Army, and our goaltender on the preseason AHA team was Thomas Gale from Holy Cross. And then our preseason AHA Player of the Year was Liam McClinsky from Holy Cross. So congratulations to all of those players and those coaches, and thank you to the coaches for submitting their ballots. And that was released this morning. So if you need more information on that, our press release is on the AHA website and social media. Our first speaker of the day will be Commissioner Michelle Morgan. She's entering her second season with us here at Atlantic Hockey America. And so at this point, I will hand it over to Michelle.
Thanks, Connor, and good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you. And somehow, a blink of an eye, the summer's over, and here we are talking about another hockey season. The men are gonna get underway here in a few weeks, and I know there's a lot of things happening already on our campuses, and talking to many of our coaches and our administrators. So excited about that. Even though the weather's warm outside, we're going to be in an ice rink pretty often before we know it. So it's been a busy summer and a busy off season for us. I don't know that we've really had one in the conference office. And a lot of new things since we last spoke or saw many of you last season. We officially went through a merger. So last April, beginning of May, at the end of the regular season, the end of the championship season, we launched a new name, a new logo, and a new brand. And that was really part of the coming together between College Hockey America, a women's only conference, and the Atlantic Hockey Association. So we did our due diligence and went through really a 9-month process of really doing a listening tour, understanding different perspectives, talking to different constituencies. So, working with student athletes, working with current coaches, working with administrators, listening to fans, and also getting the perspective of people that have been in the league over the years and what their thoughts were, and to best encapsulate what the essence was and what made this league so special. We wanted to keep the identity and the tradition, and so the logo that you see behind me is what we came up with, again, after a multi-month process and lots of iterations of logos and names. And so this really signifies to us a new era as one league. We have a new name and a new graphic identity. Again, we wanted to keep pieces of our past, and so Atlantic obviously is probably the most predominant. Obviously, Atlantic Hockey America is what we start with, and so when we think of Atlantic, obviously much of our footprint and many of our teams are in New England or along the eastern seaboard, and the Atlantic Ocean is something that we think of when we think of something being strong and powerful, a force of nature. We know that the ocean always changes, and I think that this league, that's significant in this league, and that we're dynamic and we've adapted over the years, but we're also resilient and thinking about how the tides continually rise on the ocean. That was something that was important in keeping the name. When we think of America, obviously taking that from College Hockey America, we think of something that's united, and bringing multiple members together under one entity, but also America thinking about opportunities and bright and broad horizons. Think about when we think of America, the word courageous also came to mind for a lot of people, as we live in the land of the free and home of the brave. And so that was important in keeping our name as well. The graphic identity and specifics, we kept a little bit of that rising puck that you see there that was in the Atlantic Hockey Association logo, that upward trajectory, and that we think is really emblematic of our dynamic and resilient spirit. The star that you see in the second A there also was pulled from the College Hockey America logo, but also knowing that we have 2 service academies in our membership, right? Really looking for that aspect of service and competition, and tying back to that America again. What is our pursuit of excellence? And the color scheme is something that you don't see a lot of in the Division I athletic conference space. Blue signifying, again, the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, playing on frozen ice, as well as keeping that gold, again, to represent our pursuit of excellence. We're pleased with where it's come up. Where we've landed, although myself included, some tongue twisters at times to make sure we're using the appropriate words. And so I think that we've broken some bad habits, but a new day and a new era, and excited for that. We've also streamlined some conference operations over the summer. I have some new colleagues and some new conference staff. You met Connor. He kicked off this media day for us, and Cole McKinney will also be serving as assistant commissioner for operations, as well as Evan Moldano, who will be helping us with media and graphic design this season as well. Over the summer, we entered into a new 3-year partnership with Flow. So all of our streaming platform, all of our games will be streamed on the platform Flow. We're working with Flow to enhance some graphic offerings. We'll be working with Flow to enhance some technological offerings with our campus partners to make sure that the product that we're putting out is enhanced and elevated the best that we can. And Flow has some new features and designs that will be rolled out in that user experience. So different features in player tracking and dashboards on their interface as well, that we're excited for our fans and our community to be able to interface and interact with. The goals for the year, I think that this really, as I enter into year 2, I think that we are moving in a great direction. There's a great group of people that really have supported me in this conference throughout the year, and I'm grateful for that. But I think that this year we really need to look to continue to elevate our league as a cohesive unit, now as one, with our men's and our women's operation under one. But also, how are we enhancing our coverage, our offerings, our services, as well as telling our story? I talked a little bit about that last year. And so as we look to tell our story in new places, but how are we finding new partners to grow the different opportunities that we have for our student athletes and our memberships, but ultimately to create a safe environment that's a competitive environment where we as a conference staff can best adapt and serve our membership and our student athletes, but ultimately continuing to grow our game and our league so that we are putting not just 1, but 2 teams into the national tournament, ultimately with having a champion that comes out of our league, out of Atlantic Hockey America. So excited for the year, ready to hit the ground running. and happy to answer any questions if anybody may have for me. Otherwise, I will turn it back over to Connor.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but I do just want to open it up real quick. Does anybody have any questions for Commissioner Morgan before we move on?
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Oliver Francis with Seymour Sports. Commissioner, what led to the decision to stick with Flow, given other conferences either making their own streaming platforms or jumping over to the to ESPN?
Great question. This was something that was a lot of due diligence. I think it's our job and responsibility, or something that our directors charge me with, is to really explore all options and understand what that looks like. So there are a few conferences, the NCHC in particular, that has kind of developed their own platform historically. And that's a big lift. It's full content all the time, as a full channel. And we didn't think at this point, in light of all of the things that we're trying to take on, that was something that we had the capacity to do, because it's important that we do it right. There was some conversations with other players in the space. And I think that we need to look at the mix of where we might fit on the totem pole in terms of exposure and, putting our league in a place where we could get the most exposure for all of our teams. And we've had good conversations with Flow over the years. I think that they've heard some of our concerns over the years, and they've reacted. I think that it seems like, and we'll find out a little bit more this year, that they've invested in the hockey space through different mergers and acquisitions, and are making those incremental enhancements because they're investing in the sport. They're also investing a lot in the college space, not just Division I hockey. They just signed a new partnership with the AHL last week or earlier this week. And so I think that they are really trying to take a stake within the hockey space as well. And so we're proud to partner with them over the next 3 years. The one thing I should add to that, sorry, just a quick anecdote and quick thought. We will still have carve-outs. So our campus partners will still have the opportunity through different allocations to have, Flow is our streaming partner, but there will still be linear carve-outs in different regional networks, depending on the institution and where they're located and who their linear partner is. So that will still continue and be expanded a little bit this year as well.
Thank you. I have one more question if nobody else has any.
Go ahead, Al.
You mentioned streamlining your office and kind of combining everything into one. Does that streamlining, should there be interest in expansion, make it easier for, say, a former CHA member to, say, if they want to add men's hockey, does that make it easier for them to do that with things being streamlined under one roof?
Great question. I think, there's certainly probably some truth to that, although we haven't lived through that experience to know that that's indeed the fact. I think when we look at the discussion of expansion and what that looks like, there's certainly probably more opportunity on the women's side, with right now 6, soon to be 7 members, with Delaware coming in next year. So they'll have an uneven number as well on the women's side. But I think in the conversations that we've had, both with our men's directors and our women's directors, now unifiedly as one board, this league is not just going to add a member to add a member. I think that it needs to be the right fit. We need to be the right fit for an institution and a program, but that institution and program needs to be a right fit for this league. And how do we add value to each other and elevate the ecosystem and the compatibility that already exists with the types of institutions that make up Atlantic Hockey America.
Thank you, Michelle. I am not seeing any other questions at this time, so I think we'll go ahead and move on to our first head coach of the day. That will be RIT's Coach Wayne Wilson. RIT is the defending conference champions, and so they have the honor of going first on this call. So at this time, I will open it up to Coach Wilson, ask him to make an opening statement and just kind of give us an overall view of his program.
Thanks, Connor, and thanks, Michelle, and thank to everyone here joining us on the call today. A lot of familiar names. It's nice to go first and not have to reiterate what everyone else has already been saying the whole time. So I will be brief in my comments. And in that, we're just excited for the start of another year. We're into the 3 weeks of call it training camp or whatever, and with 3 weeks still left to go. So it's a long period of time to be on the ice preparing for the year. But this year in particular, so last year we had a lot of returning players and everything kind of fit in nicely. We knew what things are predicted or easy to predict what things were going to look like, special teams and so on. We've got a lot of new faces here, 10 new faces, and this period's been great for us in that regards, in that we get to know some of the new people. They get to learn a little bit more about what's expected of them and what practices are going to be like. It's a long wait before they get to know what the games are going to be like, but we're excited about what we have, and but won't know until we start playing games. In regards to our schedule, the schedule not that it was planned out this way, but we kind of lucked out. We have, I believe it's 2, maybe 3 home games of the month of October, a lot of non-conference. We're on the road quite a bit. And the second half, we're at home a lot and conference games. So I think really that first month we get to grow as a team. What I think will be different this year is last year we were able to come out of the gate running hard and knew what to expect from people. I think this year it's going to be learning about our team and growing as a team, and I expect us to be that much better as a team in the second half than in the first half. I think we have to learn about ourselves, and the competition will bring that all out, whether it be non-conference and then obviously conference. So like everyone at this time of year, we're excited about getting going, and we're kind of in that little bit of a lull in the middle of our so-called training camp, and looking forward to getting closer to the games and then start playing games and going from there. Having said that, any questions?
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, I'm going to open up to the media here and see if we have any questions for you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I'm James Bueno from Ice Level and the Dan K Show. Coach, what do you think is the biggest factor that nobody's talking about right now? There's a lot that's been talked about, especially with losing a guy like Cody Wisconski to Wisconsin. What do you think is the biggest quiet factor into defending that tournament championship from last year?
Yeah, good question. I think the one thing is that we've, our power play from last year, as an example, it was the same power play. The first unit, anyways, was the same power play as the year before. There's a lot of guys really were looking for opportunities to move up and grow their roles and things like that. And so this has really kind of given us that opportunity, and it's really a chance to see where some of our players can go, including 3 of our freshmen last year. We had a freshman line that really came on hard the second half of the year, and Matt Wild was one of them that was chosen as a preseason All-HA, but the other 2 also had equally very good years, but they weren't able to crack some of the players that were ahead of them. So now they're going to have that opportunity. But even our leadership with the growth that we had within our program, that where can they go if everyone came back? We're disappointed the players left, but it has given us new opportunities for new players to really grow, not only within the program, but the transfers that we also brought in.
And then just as a follow-up to that, being from such a small conference on the national stage, would you say that these experiences are more of a learning process, or would you say that you're used to it nowadays with transfers leaving for the greener grass of blue blood schools?
Greener grass, we'll see if that's the case or not. I mean, that's what everyone thinks, but I think we've got a pretty good product here along with our league. But you know, that's a difficult question to answer, to be honest with you. Like, um, you know, today's age is certainly different. It's something that you've got to adapt to, and it is what it is. But um, it's funny, like every year if you've got a good program, every year you lose good people, and you think, geez, how are we going to replace this person or that person? Sometimes the transfer portal will accelerate that, but every year the good programs replace their guys. So uh, whether it be our program or whether it be someone like Michigan who loses first rounders after 1 year, maybe two, everyone, if you've got a good program, you're replacing good people, and you know, a word that's used probably too often in culture. You know, it's important for us that our new people can make contributions right away, and we give them those opportunities, and they've got to earn those opportunities. But you've got to keep growing as a program every year, and I guess you can never let your foot off the gas, and you you know, and that's how you have to approach it.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Oliver.
Coach, you had plenty of with losing Tommy, you had plenty of goalies in the transfer portal you could have picked from. What stood out to you about Trent, and as you guys started talking to him, what maybe stood out about your program to him?
Yeah, you know, that's interesting because it's the first time we really had to go through that. We used to kind of go through the portal even when we didn't lose anyone, just to see what's out there and just take a look. But um, for us, what was important for us was one to get someone with playing experience. We really like the two goalies, and you're going to see them this year that have come into our program. But to rely on a couple of goalies that have zero college hockey playing experience, and the year, and it's a long year. And when I say that, we don't play the games at like an NHL schedule, obviously, but the volume of shots that they see every week in practice is more than what, you know, professional teams or major junior or those type of things. So we were looking for a goalie that had experience, played a lot of games, and played well. And when we watched Trent, um, he actually reminded us a lot of both stature and his play in a former goalie in Shane Matalora and also Tommy. So he had a lot of those characteristics, and from what we've seen so far, and it's an early, he's kind of lived up to what we were hoping he would in practice, and we'll see what happens in games here. But I think it was just important that we had someone that was able to come in and do that. From Trent, from his perspective, at least what a little bit of what he shared with us, he wanted to be in a league. You know, being an independent, he wanted to be able to play for a championship. He wanted to play for individual accolades. He wanted to be able to be looking at standings. So it was really just being a part of a league more so than anything else. And then without asking him, but I'm sure when he saw that Tommy was leaving and that we were bringing in two freshmen, that he also saw opportunity. And I think anyone that's transferring is looking for opportunity as well. And he thought there was one, and that was part of his decision making. So I think it's a good fit for us now, and we hope that he can lead the charge in his experience with our other two goalies, and we're also hoping our other two goalies are live up to what our expectations are, and that they can get playing time as well.
All right, Coach, we've got one more question for you before we move on. Anthony from College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned earlier that freshman trio from last year, and how did you see them kind of grow and mature as the season went along?
Well, you know, we were kind of fortunate over the last few years. This year will be a little bit different in that we could be patient with our freshmen. So they started the year. We were up in St. Lawrence at the beginning of the year, and they were on our fourth line, and they were able to kind of grow at their own pace. And I think that was important for us because sometimes you may have, whether a freshman line is unique in itself, never mind anything else, but their chemistry was noticeable right off the get-go. Their camaraderie both on and off the ice was also special, but I don't know if there's many teams that recruit a whole line out of junior hockey or wherever they may come from. The only thing that compared at another level was also what Boston College did with their freshmen, but so they're able to grow. So that's where it's going to be different for us this year, is that there's going to be some people that are going to be forced to play a little higher in the lineup, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they can handle it. The frustrations of just moving up that, or the confidence that you need to play and play at a high level all the time versus when you've got other people around you that can carry the ball for you. So that's what our whole really training camp and the beginning of the year is really trying to mesh the guys together, and everyone trying to, grab a piece of the rope and pull in the same direction, and collectively that other people can grow. But the freshman line, there'll be more expected from them. But we have the same thing with some of our captains, Grady Hobbs, Tanner Andrew, and Dimitri Giannakis. They're going to have some of that burden on their shoulders, and we look forward to seeing how they lead the team as well.
Coach Wilson, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. We are going to move on to our next coach.
Thank you.
RIT, just to recap, received 3 first-place votes in the coaches poll, finished second with 94 points, and they are the defending conference champions. We will move on now. Our next head coach from Air Force, Coach Frank Sarator. Coach, I'm going to open it up to you and ask you to make an opening statement.
Good. Well, I hope everybody's doing well today, and I hope you're excited about the season. I'm going to start out with a little bit of good news and bad news. And the good news for us is we're coming off a pretty good season. We exceeded everybody's expectations last year. I think we were finished to pick somewhere in the bottom half of the league. And we ended up finishing 4th in the league. We had 18 wins. We got a first round bye. We qualified for home ice in the first round. We had a big national win against Michigan State. So, there was a lot to be proud of, and there was a lot of good about last year. The bad about last year was we did finish, ultimately, we lost in the first round of the playoffs to AIC, and we ended up with a losing record, 18-19-1. And, with that, coming back this year, I think we have a lot of good players. We're deep. I've been looking at our practices, and I said, I don't know what we got, but we got a lot of it. And so I think we have a lot of good. The good news is we got a lot of good players. The bad news is good ain't good enough anymore. In today's collegiate landscape, Division I hockey is better than it's ever been. I mean, we're producing over a third of the players for the NHL right now. And there's more good players out there than there are lockers available. There's only 64 teams in college hockey. And the level of college hockey has obviously never been better than it is right now. And it's not going to go backwards anytime soon. Players from all over the world, not just Americans and Canadians, but the Europeans. Everybody wants to play college hockey right now. So like I said, I think we got a lot of good players, but we need those good players to become very good players. And then we need a bunch of very good players that can eventually become great collectively. So we need people to get better. This coming year, our Achilles heel last year was our even strength play. And for this season, this team has got to be a better even strength team. It's amazing that we finished 4th last year with how poor we were plus minus wise. I hate to talk stats and numbers, but these are the facts. Of the 21 skaters who played 15 or more games for us last year, only 5 were plus players. And what's worse, 9 of our 10 top scorers were minus players. And that cost us in the playoffs against AIC. They scored 6 even strength goals against us. And so we have got this group. We're not going to have probably as high powered of a power play as we had last year. So we're just going to have to have a 4-line attack. We're just going to have to be a better even strength team. Now, our upper classes, the other issue, good news and bad news. The good news is the players in our upper classes. We got some good players in our upper classes. The bad news is we ain't got a whole lot of them. Our upper classes are a little bit short in numbers. So we're going to need to have. There ain't no transfers coming to Air Force and Army. Like no quick fixes and no mulligans. And so we're going to need some freshmen and sophomores to play above their pay grade, just to give us the depth that we're going to need to be able to not. We just don't want to compete. We want to contend, and for us to contend, we need some players to step up. Now, with that, again, I mentioned we do have some good players in our upper classes, and we have some good puzzle pieces coming back. It's nice to have a senior goalie. We've got Guy Blessing coming back. We have a lot of faith in him. There's not a lot of returning goalies in the league, and we feel very fortunate to have Guy coming back and being in our net this year. We've also got two, what we feel is dominant face-off men. Clay Cosentino was one of the best face-off men in the country last year, and we feel Mason McCormick right behind him is on the come. So that gives us a right-handed and a left-handed dominant face-off man. It's very nice to have an all-league defenseman coming back. Chris Hedden was an all-league defenseman, was on the All-American ballot, a very, very good offensive player, and a nice puzzle piece to have coming back. The other thing that Air Force hockey teams have to have, we have to have some good energy guys. And we've got a couple terrific energy guys coming back in Austin Schwartz and Holt Oliphant. And I've been telling the younger guys, everybody we've got to be a hungry team this year. Hey, we were picked to finish 7th. There's a reason for that. And we're going to have to be a consummate Air Force team. We're going to have to play with a lot of fire in our belly. And not everybody can be in Austin Schwartz or a Holt Oliphant. And we had Brian Adams last year. But every guy in our lineup has to have a little bit of them in them. They have to have a little bit of that element in them. And just closing, with Schwartz, the type of dominant energy guy he was the defensive player of the year in Atlantic hockey last year and led the nation in shorthanded goals, which says a lot about him. And he's back, and he's going to be one of our captains along with Clay Cosentino. But that's a little bit on the Falcons and our outlook on the upcoming season.
Thank you, Coach. We do have our first question here from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Coach, you just mentioned Chris Hedden there, and what makes him such a special player?
Well, he's got a tremendous amount of ability. I mean, he's like he's like a natural point guard, and he's a really, really good athlete. He's not tall, but he's sturdy. He's tough. He's got confidence. He's got all the things that you can't teach. He's got he's got a ton of God-given ability. The thing with Chris this year that we're working on is we want him to be everything that he was last year offensively, but we want him at the end of the season to be a plus player.
Next question from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I have 2 quick questions. You talked about a lot of upperclassmen coming back and what they bring. Who are some of your basic cadets or second-year guys you're expecting to play a big role in this team? And what's it mean for you to open up the league schedule on the road against AIC?
Well, first of all, I mentioned Guy Blessing. He's coming back in goal. And we got Cosentino on the dot. McCormick, Holt Oliphant, Austin Schwartz. Another guy that has really shown well to date that's taken a big step is Owen Dubois, another big left-handed center. And we will be we haven't been very deep down the middle in the last few years. This will be the deepest we've ever been down the middle in quality centers. So, those are some guys that we're going to be looking to. But again, that's only a few guys, and with that, we got no junior, we got no transfers, and so we've got to look to our freshmen and sophomores, and ultimately, for us to be a threat, for us to contend, we're going to have a number of freshmen and sophomores play above their pay grade, and we're optimistic that that's going to happen. It may not happen early, but anybody that's watched Air Force hockey, when Air Force is playing their best hockey, and it's in January and February, and I'm confident we're going to be there then. You mentioned about going to AIC. I guess it's a rematch from our playoff series last year. We're going in. You have to start somewhere, and you might as well go in. I'll tell you right now, the one first place vote that AIC got was from the Air Force Falcons, and we put that on them because of the respect that we have for them. And as a program, we haven't done really well against them the last few years. And I like going into AIC for that first conference series because, we know we're going to find out where we sit, early on, where we sit on the food chain, because we know when the dust clears in February, AIC is going to be somewhere in the top 5 in the league.
Thank you so much, Coach. We appreciate your time. We are going to move on to our next head coach, Coach Lang from AIC. Going to open it up to you and ask you to make an opening statement.
All right, here we go again. Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Connor. Thanks, Michelle. If I have one request moving forward, man, I hate following Frank on these things. That's like following Mickey Mantle in center field. But no, exciting time for Atlantic hockey right now. New direction, new vision. I always say, like, the strength of our league continues to be the league. There's no top, there's no bottom. I thought this was the toughest coaches poll to do in the last 10 years for me. And we'll kind of see how that plays out. Also, just like I just have some notes here, but congratulate Brian Riley on a historic career, his last media day. So today has some sentimental value as well. In terms of AIC, I thought we had a terrific finish to our season last year. For us to get to the conference finals, go to a really tough place in Air Force, follow it up with a really good, tough place to play in terms of Holy Cross. And we fell a little short there versus RIT, who proved to be the best team in the league 2 years in a row here. But have us have gone through some adversity. I think we had played a game last year late in the season with 11 career points in our lineup. And we had some really key guys go down with some significant injuries, season-ending injuries. Lindbergh, Malinowski, Koklachev, Lundy. I mean, those will be our top 4 scorers returning here this year. We do have a good chunk of our scoring returning. I think we're over like 65% of our scoring comes back, and then we've supplemented that with the transfer portal, where we have almost 500 games of college hockey experience. So, as Frank mentioned and Wayne has mentioned, it's an exciting time of year. We haven't lost a game yet. Nobody's been scratched. So again, we're cautiously optimistic as we move forward here. And, early on for us, and I think we're about halfway through training camp, if you want to call it that, or halfway to the start of our season. This looks like one of the more skilled teams we've ever had here. I always say, like, we've been built in the past. Maybe we've had a second line, 2 third lines, and a fourth line. I think we're going to be able to score from top to bottom. Right now, we don't have a fourth line and we don't have a first line. That could be good news or bad news, but I do think the strength of our team is our forward depth and our ability to score and make plays. So that's really exciting. In terms of our schedule, I think we have 4 or 5 top 15 teams in the country. I know we're at Maine, at Ohio State, and at Boston College to start. And then obviously Air Force comes in at the end of the month, who's proven, they've been as good as any team in our league. And you want to measure yourself early in the season and see what you have. You play a military institution. So that's a little bit on the Yellow Jackets here, and I guess we'll just open it up.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. We do have several questions here in the chat box, so hoping we can get through all of them. Anthony from College Hockey News, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I thought Brett Rylance really took a step forward in his development last year. Scored some big goals for you. Kind of what are you expecting out of him this year?
He's a terrific player. He's a guy that plays both sides of the puck. He's probably one of the fastest guys in college hockey, and he has. It's a good observation by you, Anthony. He has taken a great step. He's a guy that we kind of thought would play, 6 through 9 kind of minutes in terms of our forward spot. But, early on here, he looks like a first or second line center. We have him on a power play. He'll continue to kill penalties for us. He was a guy who was also dinged up down the stretch last year, almost playing with one arm. He's a tough, he's competitive. He's everything we value in a player.
Next question, we go to James from Ice Level. James, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you talk about how tight the coaches poll is in a conference that's so intimate, full of small schools. Would you say the competition level influences your recruiting strategy?
Yeah, and you know what, James, we've continued to be unique in the way we go about things in terms of our recruiting. I think we have 11 or 12 kids from Europe once again this year. We like to go where nobody else is. That's been a good theme for us. But I think every team in our league has a great niche right now, and as we're trying to move forward here, and we've had as good a run as anybody for 4 years, but it's also been 2 years since we've been in the NCAA tournament. We want to get back to that. We feel like we have a group that is certainly talented enough to get back there, but we're all trying to find our competitive edge, not only on the recruiting trails, but how we play on the ice. And we took a deep dive into our program this summer, and trying to find areas of improvement that are a must, and also continue to strengthen our strengths. And so we're going to find out here real shortly.
Next question we have is from Seth. Seth, go ahead from AAC.
Langer, given that we graduated 400 plus games of experience on our defense with Callahan, Ricard, Somerville, Kramer, how valuable is it to have Evan Stella back to kind of build your defense around with his 115 games in an AIC uniform and everything that he knows about the expectations for this program?
Yeah, and you know what, we lose Brian Kramer, who was arguably one of the best players in our league last year, and you don't replace that player for player. We went into the transfer portal and really think we solidified some of our needs in terms of maybe being a little tougher to play against and having bigger statured defensemen. But for us moving forward, Evan Stella has to be a guy that's playing 25 to 30 minutes a night. He'll be our captain this year. He's got a professional type demeanor. He practices like a pro, and quite honestly, he's as good a player as we've ever had in this program. So, we'll need to keep Evan healthy, and he'll have to log a lot of minutes. But a terrific person, leader, and a guy that will have an outstanding pro career.
Our next question is from Oliver Seymour Sports. Oliver, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach. So I have 2 questions. You mentioned program areas for improvement in your audit. How do Laurie Surtees and Chase Clark go to help those, and what talk about your non-conference schedule and the inspiration for playing all the top teams to see kind of where you guys are?
Yeah, Chase Clark is a looks to be like a really good, solid goaltender thus far. We'll see when the lights go on what that looks like. Peyton Grainer is a guy we're really excited about. Peyton sat out last year. He had some OHL stuff on his resume, so he had to sit a year in residence last year. He looks fabulous for us, and we have some unknown in the net. Obviously Nils Wallstrom's departure put us in a little bit of a pickle here, but that's the new era of college hockey, and we move on and we replace, and that's just the way it is now. Oliver, I missed the second part of your question there.
Kind of about your non-conference schedule, how it came together, and what it means to see where you are against these top teams early on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've historically have always done this. We stretch ourselves out of conference. If you don't beat them, if you don't play them, you can't beat them. Has kind of been our philosophy. And the ultimate goal of getting in the NCAA tournament is what we aspire to be. And I think playing NCAA tournament teams, so when you get there, you don't have the big eyes, is really important for our program.
Thank you, Coach.
We've got one final question for you here, Coach, before we move on. Chris Lurch. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Chris Lurch, U.S. College Hockey Online. Coach, next year there's going to be legislation capping roster limits at 26. You typically carry a large roster, 30 players plus. How is that affecting your recruiting strategy and planning going forward?
Good question, Chris. We've actually shortened our roster quite a bit from last year to this year, but I will say this: if we had to have a roster of 26 players last year, we would have forfeited our last 7 games of the season. I don't think that's a great number. We will, we'll see what the legislature in terms of opting in or opting out of some of this, but 26 feels really light. I think 28, 29 is probably the optimum number. And if you ever had a year like we did last year in terms of losing the amount of players we did, I better keep it at that.
Thank you.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. We are going to move on to our next head coach. Thank you. All right, next up, we've got Trevor Lard from Canisius. Coach, I'm going to open it up to you and ask you to make an opening statement.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it. I'll try to get us back on track if I can in terms of time. I'll be very brief with the opening statement and obviously be available for questions. I think every coach is going to talk about the exciting time of the year. We're all in. No wins, no losses. Nobody's out of the lineup. Those things are very real. I definitely feel with our current group, there's a lot of playing time that's available. So that makes our team very attentive to what our coaching staff is asking for from them. It seems to be a very intense group. So those are good things for what the future holds for us at Canisius in terms of what we feel. Up front, it does appear that we have some good solid depth in terms of players with experience, some new players coming into the program. Our back end has definitely more new with 3 freshmen that are coming in. So anytime you add 3 freshmen to a D-core, it's going to require them getting very comfortable very quickly. They seem to be doing a great job with that. And then in net, we have Ethan Robertson returning for a sophomore year and 2 freshmen that have come in. So in terms of looking at our team, we feel very young in net, but we're excited about that group. The D-core does feel young, although there's some guys there that have played a lot of games in a Griff jersey. And then up front, we definitely have some solid skill and depth in those areas. So happy to answer any questions that anybody would have about this year for Canisius.
Yeah, Coach, first question we've got is from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, the power play, you had some issues at times, last year. And when you're trying to improve in that area year to year, is it more of, finding the right personnel, or is it as simple as, maybe slight tweaks to kind of what you're doing systematically?
Yeah, it's a great question. Appreciate that. There's a combo to it for sure. We need some guys to step up into some positions to help us on the power play. I think we've added some experience in terms of the transfer portal of some guys that hopefully will help us on the power play. Kalela is one of those guys. He's been a power play player for the most of his college career, and we're excited about his skill level. So hopefully he can help in some areas. And then there's we have to find what works. I think it took us too long last year to find out, what type of power play that we needed to run. And there was a lot of trial and error, and maybe a little more error than trial, success that we were looking for. We've been able to work on those things a little bit earlier this year. So hopefully that system that we're preparing for the guys will be helpful, because we do need to score more on the power play. Special teams is an area that we need to get better at both if we're gonna, climb and get to the standings of where we want to be. We're gonna need our power play and penalty kill to be much better.
Next question we've got is from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask, you and RIT, probably more than a lot of other schools, utilize the OJHL. Talk about your connections with that league and some of your OJHL recruits and what you're hoping to see from them this year.
Sure. I mean, there's Ontario ties. Obviously, we're close. It's a border town, so it's an important league for us. It does. I played in that league, so obviously there's some connections that you have in terms of people that are in the league, but it is an important league. We have quite a few players on the team that have at least played in the OJ a little bit, but that connection is a positive thing, because obviously we're close and we can see those players a little bit more, so we can understand who they are. But obviously once we get them, it's you have to showcase those skill and abilities. But some of those guys, like Oliver Tarr comes to mind. Oliver is going into his junior year. Scored a lot in the OJ. We do see some of that skill and ability is really starting to come out. So, his game could hopefully get to the next level, and we're excited for Oliver. There's obviously other guys that come from the league. Alex Cicero obviously played a long time at 4 years at Holy Cross. Was a junior Sabres player. Now with us, we're excited about Cicero in terms of how he can play and the style of play, and obviously knows the conference very, very well. So the OJ is important among others, but that's a definitely important thing. OJ is important for what we're trying to do here.
Chris Lurch has our next question. Chris, you can go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Mateo had quite a year for you. Did he exceed your expectations, and what do you look from him for this season?
Yeah, Mateo is obviously topic for me to talk about. Probably should have had him in the opening. Anytime you have a rookie of the year in the conference, that's an exciting thing for any coach to have that skill and ability to come back. To answer your question, Chris, he met expectations. We had very high expectations for Mateo coming in his freshman year. I think what he was able to do, it did go as planned. Like, it doesn't always go to, what your expectations are. Your guys are able to meet it. But very early on, it was obvious that college hockey, he could be competitive in college hockey early on in his career. The impressive part was he scored early, he scored in the middle, and he scored at the end. That his skill set, his competitiveness, his skating, his confidence is impressive, and it's growing. He's the type of person that gets better every day, and that's really neat to see as a coach. So I would tell you that he did meet expectations, but those expectations were very high, and we're excited for him today and tomorrow in our program.
Thank you.
Coach, we've got one more for you before we move on. Chris Peters from Flow Sports. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Trevor. My question is also about Mateo. I mean, obviously, when you have a guy that has the success that he has, I'm sure that there, is interest from the outside in the way things work now in college hockey. I mean, what does it say about him to return, and was there ever any nervousness about that with him?
Well, it's I mean, there's a lot in that, a lot in the question, but obviously, it's a different time. But I think everybody understands what's happening. It's evolving currently. Mateo loves Canisius. It's close to home for him. There's lots of reasons for him to stay. He has a staff and players that he loves, and we're with him and with him in his development. when it gets to the end of the year, I think all coaches are hopeful that they build those connections, that you can have conversations about what comes next, whether it's graduation or not. We're all hoping that we're not getting, those phone calls of anybody wanting to come in and leave the program. We hope that people feel welcomed and valued for who they are. It's just an example that I like to talk about is we had 0 players enter the portal. I don't know if that happens everywhere, but what it tells me is we're doing something right here. And a player like Mateo and others feel like they're developing in our program. They feel good about the day-to-day interaction that they're having. I remember I heard Wayne talk about it early in the call. The grass always isn't greener somewhere else. So our guys feel passionate about what we're trying to do here, and they feel absolutely a part of it. And Mateo would be absolutely one of those players.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time with us today.
Thanks, Connor.
All right, moving on. Next time slot is for Holy Cross and Coach Bill Riga. Coach, I'm going to ask you to make an opening statement.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you on here. I think for us, we continue with to grow the program to where we want it to be. Obviously, having a Hobie Baker top 10 finalist, player of the year coming back. There's going to be high expectations, obviously, for him, and having the goaltender on the preseason All-Star team sort of put some expectations there as well. But for us, by a lot of standards, we had a good year, 21 wins and second place and all that. But in the end, our goal is to win championships, and we didn't win either one of them. And we played really well in the playoffs, and we just ran into a determined team in AIC and a great goaltender. So there's nothing to be angry about. It's just hard to win. It's hard to win, and but our goal is to reach for those championships and hang some banners up in the rink, and we fell short of that. So that's what's motivating us. What's motivating us right now going into this year. We want to get back to the level where we have a chance to win those championships, and then finish the job. As far as our schedule goes, we have starting off at BU and UConn for 2, Quinnipiac. Merrimack is off this year. They're back next year. And we're headed out to trying to see it right in front of me here. Sorry, I had it out just to reference to LIU, and we have UMass Lowell as well. But the highlight there, I think, is we're going out to Palm Springs to play in the Cactus Classic, facing Omaha in the first game right after Christmas this year. So we're looking forward to that. That's it for me. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Coach, our first question from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Coach, you just referenced Thomas there in net, and last couple of years he's kind of had to share the net, pretty much evenly. Is the plan to kind of give him, a heavy workload out of the gate and see where, he goes with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get the looks early. And I think all of our goaltenders know that. He's got some money in the bank, and obviously that performance needs to be there to maintain it. But we're very confident in him, and he took it to another level next year from where he had been his first 2 years, and we're really happy for him, and he's put a lot of work in, and we're confident that if we're in a situation where he takes it and runs with it, we have no issue with him being our guy.
Next question is from James at Ice Level. James, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, with the upcoming game against Quinnipiac at the DCU Center, how do you feel that could possibly grow your audience and be used as a recruiting strategy for future players?
Yeah, I think part of that is about getting the community at large, but going downtown and getting the hockey community at large involved in making, Holy Cross Worcester's program. I think in the past people have kind of drifted to the Boston schools, and for one reason or another. And I think bringing it downtown, is trying to make a statement that we can fill, a lot of this building, maybe not all of it, but with quality opponents and grow the program, east, west, north, and south that way.
Next question from Seymour Sports.
Hey, Coach, kind of building off that, the atmosphere at the Hart Center, as you guys have won, has gotten even better than it already is. Who do you credit with your school and your administration for helping grow the game day atmosphere and for students and anyone else at the Hart Center, which is a pretty awesome barn to be in its own right?
It's been collaborative, from the top with the new athletic director and Kid Hughes, and then our external relations person, Nick Smith. They put a lot of time into promoting and game day operations. And this year, we're going to be increasing the atmosphere. We have the new light system, LED and colors, and making some changes in that way too to make a better game presentation. So we just want to keep, pushing the envelope here with upgrading. And giving people more reasons to come to the rink. And in the end, the biggest factor is just winning more games. It's our players that have played an exciting brand of hockey and bought into what we're trying to do, and getting more wins equals more fans. No one's going to come watch a product that's not successful and not going to work. So I think the biggest factor outside of all that has been the performance has improved.
Got a question from Chris Lurch. Chris, you can go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Additional question about Liam McClinsky. 2 years ago, primarily a goal scorer. I think he had 21 goals, 4 assists. Last year, dramatic change. Still a lot of goals, but 28 assists. Was that conscious to make him more of a playmaker, or how did that develop?
We talked about getting more well-rounded, but I think a lot of that happened with just the way teams were playing him. Giving him more attention. So maybe he would draw, a little more physicality and a little more double, and he'd have to move it. And to his credit, he didn't care about that. He wanted to make sure we're winning games, and whatever it was, goals or assists or whatever he needs to do to help us win, he'd do that. And I think this year it's going to be even more so, with what he accomplished last year and the notoriety he got. He's going to have to find ways to get through frustration and physicality and still be effective. And that's going to have a direct correlation on what he does after this year at the next level. I think he needs to get inside more. He can do a little bit more down low with puck protection with his 6'3" frame. So there are still things for him to improve on. But I think the way he's been played and the notoriety has forced him to evolve as a player.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat here, so we are going to move on. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we've got Mercyhurst and Coach Rick Gotkin. Coach, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We got you. Yep. I'm asking to make an opening statement, and then we'll open it up from there.
Awesome. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's great to be with such great hockey people. Exciting part of the year, as everybody knows. I haven't heard all the coaches talk, but I'm sure you're hearing a lot of the same sentiment. Mercyhurst is no different. We're excited to get going. I heard Trevor's comments. I totally agree. No one has failed a test yet. No one has been scratched from the lineup. No one's lost a game. Everybody's excited. And that's what happens through the course of a long hockey season. It's, dealing with some of those things. But like I said, we're excited here. We like our group from what we've seen to this point. And we're looking forward to a great, challenging year of hockey.
Thank you, Coach. We do have a question here from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Sure.
Hey, Coach. Boris Scalos, huge positive for you last year. Where would you like to see him take his game this year?
Yeah, you know what? He's a great kid. He works incredibly hard. I just think he's a guy that competes. He scored some really big goals for us last year. Obviously, he was part of the all-rookie team at the end of the year. Anthony, the really good ones just find ways to keep getting better, and I have a hunch that Boris will be one of those guys, just how he approaches the game every day, the work he puts in on and off the ice. And I think he just needs to continue to evolve. And, the sophomore year is an interesting year because, Boris came in last year like a lot of freshmen, and there was really no expectations. And clearly, he exceeded anything we thought he would be able to do. And, now there's some more expectations within, and, hopefully he can meet those and continue to evolve.
And then you guys allowed a lot of shots last year, and as you look to reduce that, is that just a matter of, doing a better job of clogging lanes and getting more bodies in front of puck?
Yeah, you know what? I wish we can get our team to shoot as much as other teams do, and hopefully this year we will. But people shoot a lot, obviously, in hockey and especially college hockey. But yeah, I mean, that's just an area where we just need to find a way to block more shots and, like you said, be in better shooting lanes and just take better care of the puck in all three zones.
Next question we've got is from Seymour Sports.
Hey, Coach, two quick questions for you. From your freshman recruiting class, who's maybe an under the radar guy you're expecting to see big things from this year? And then talk about the value of your team heading out to play Minnesota in the middle of winter in January.
Yeah, so yeah, we basically have a pretty young team, Oliver. We have 19 underclassmen. We have 11 sophomores and 8 freshmen that make that up. But really, we like all our freshmen. They've come from a lot of different leagues. Brendan Lamb, I think, is going to be a pretty good player in our league. I think Christian Kosis is going to be a pretty good player in our league. I think Michael Chambray, a goaltender, even though he's the youngest guy on our team, is going to be a pretty good player eventually in our league. So, there's again, we haven't seen anybody play a game. We've seen some practices. We've had lots of individual meetings and things like that. But we think there's some really good young players here. Obviously, like I said, 19 underclassmen. And we're going to need some of those guys, quite frankly, to step up and have very good years. And, we're confident that, some of those guys will. And if a lot of those guys do, then I think it'll certainly help us in a big, big way. In regards to Minnesota, obviously that's going to be a great trip for us. Probably one of the top 10 programs in the country, if not higher. It's a great atmosphere, as you know. We've played out there many times against the Gophers, and our focus right now is obviously just trying to get better each day here with the little ice time that we're using, both on and off the ice. And in the back of our mind, we're looking forward to Bowling Green, coming in here on Friday, October 4th. So yeah, that's going to be a great challenge, and we're looking forward to get going.
Thank you, Coach. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, but I just want to open it up real quick. If there's any more questions for Coach before we move on. All right, looks like we're all good. Thank you so much for your time today, Coach. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
All right, next up, we've got Coach Lammers from Niagara. I'm going to ask him to make an opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
I just want to thank everybody for their time and attention and the effort they're putting into this and what you do for our league and specifically Niagara University, and super appreciative of the media attention. I think it helps us all get more credibility in college hockey and then better recruits, and so therefore better product on the ice as well.
Coach, my apologies. You might have been muted at the beginning there. Do you mind just kind of recapping what you said starting off?
Yeah, I did. I just recapped it. So I just want to thank everybody for their time and attention and writing about our league and being here and being a part of this. And we're excited about that. And we're excited about our group here at Niagara and looking forward to the end of training camp and all the minutia that comes with training camp and not being able to play somebody else.
Thank you, Coach. We do have some questions here. Anthony from College Hockey News will start us off. Anthony.
Coach, Tyler Wallace, really good season for you last year. Kind of what makes him so dangerous with the puck on his stick?
Yeah, we love Tyler Wallace. Surprised that he didn't get some more votes in some of the league voting, but that's good for him because that puts a log on his fire to inspire him a little more. And he's really good on the face-off dot. He's a really smart player, and he takes really good care of himself and his conditioning.
And then in terms of, your overall team game, kind of maybe one area where, you feel you guys need to improve?
Yeah, for us, there'd be they basically fit together, but we're looking to score a few more goals and give up a few less against. And oftentimes people think that would be your D zone, but for us specifically, want to see our PK take a step, and then some of our odd man rushes that we gave up last year. And then obviously want to score some more goals. So there's some creative things that we're doing that the guys are excited about, that we're really hopeful to give some more looks to our gifted offensive players.
Next question we've got is from Chris Lurch. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. This is more of a general question. Niagara, along with 9 other schools, were named in a lawsuit by a CHL player to challenge the NCAA rules against CHA players playing NCAA hockey. What's your feeling on that? Not on the lawsuit specifically, but just on the ability of CHL players to participate in college hockey.
Well, we left Florida with our April convention. I thought College Hockey Inc. and Mike Sneed gave an awesome presentation there about it. And he, at that time, I believe, said we're a lawsuit away from this all becoming fair, that CHL players can play in college hockey. And I think we all coaches agreed with what Mike presented and how he presented it. And here's the lawsuit. So I think it's coming, and the NCAA is in a tough spot. And so I'm of a place, just tell me what the rules are, and then we'll play accordingly.
Thank you.
Next question we've got is from Oliver and Seymour Sports. Oliver, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Question about 2 different players. First, Ray Murakami. What drew you when you first saw him? What drew you to want to recruit him? And my second question is about Gleb's Pro. How has Prorencross evolved his game? Now he's been playing for you for a few years.
Yeah, so a lot of the credit on these players goes to our staff and the work that they've done and the time and effort that they've put in. So I get to be the icing on the cake, and they did a lot of work. And what we liked about Ray was his ability to move pucks. Number one. Number 2 would be his skating. He's really an elite skater. Number 3 is just his mindset, his mentality in terms of how he works and wants to get better each and every day. So those were the 3 areas that we looked at. There's some measurables that we do internally here too on players, and his measurables were outstanding, and really solidified what we thought about him and what we saw with our eye. And then Pro's a pro. He just continues to get better each and every day. He had an awesome summer, put a lot of time and effort into his physical conditioning and his shape. He worked a lot on his shooting, and is really determined to score some more goals. And so it was fun to see him and watch him work on that. And then the last piece to that, I would just say, is his competitive nature. He's incredibly competitive and really drags people along with him with his competitiveness.
Do we have any other questions for Coach Lambert before we move on? All right, looks like we're all good. Thank you so much for your time today, Coach. We appreciate it.
Yeah, again, appreciate everybody being here, and look forward to seeing everybody in the rink soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on here. Our next time slot is for Robert Morris and Coach Derek Schooley. I'm going to ask Coach Schooley to make an opening statement, and then we will open it up for questions.
Hi, everyone. Robert Morris is excited to get our second season of our relaunch back under our belts. I think we've got a great group of returning players. We've got 16 returners and 13 newcomers that are really trying to put their stamp back on Robert Morris hockey and college hockey in general. I really believe that we took some great strides in the second half of the year. Last year, we had a really enthusiastic opening, and but then kind of struggled in November. But the second half of the year, we really turned it around, and we're really excited to advance out of the first round of the playoffs, especially get the experience for our young players. And here we are coming back, and we want to kind of put the past behind us and look to the future of Robert Morris hockey, and not really talk about a relaunch anymore. It's the Colonials are back, and obviously we finished in last place last year, and we want to do a lot better than that this year. That's for sure. So I'll open up for any questions.
First question we've got is from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, you can go ahead.
Coach, you just talked about that experience from last year, and you had a kind of nice blend there of youth and some veteran players, and that experience that you gained last year, throughout the regular season with that big playoff win, how can that translate to success as you move into this year?
Well, you talk about our experience, and I think one of the neat thing was watching our freshmen grow last year, and now they're sophomores. We retained the bulk of the potential guys that can come back, and at the end of the year, Cam Garvey, Tanner Klimke, and Walter Zacher was our top line, and they're all back and they're all together and use the experience of playing in big games. Michael Craig for us got a tremendous amount of experience, as did Luke Van Wy, who was out the first half with an injury but came back in the second half. Gabriel Lund. And you just go down the list. Jackson Reineke had 20 points. McKay Hayes and George Kateris all were in the mid-teens in points. And those guys were all sophomores. And that's the neat thing about what we were able to accomplish. And obviously the second round, we ran into a buzzsaw with RIT, but I think everybody did. So we're just excited to be back and playing and feel like we're going to learn from everything we did last year and move forward in that direction.
And then in terms of in goal, you got some new faces there. Kind of early on as you've gone through practices, kind of what's that competition look like?
Well, we've got three, and they all look very similar. They're all 6'4" and above. And Dylan Milan comes in with the most experience, played a lot of games and faced a lot of shots last year at Stonehill, but also was a Division III All-American the year before. And then you got Dawson Smith, who was at Western Michigan, didn't play any games. Their goalie played every minute of every game last year, but he got a tremendous amount of experience in practicing against good shooters and working. It's excited to get him back into a game. And then Corey Korkendorfer out of the USHL and North American Hockey League is once again another big goalie, and they've all got flaws and weaknesses, but they've all got tremendous amount of strengths. And obviously we've got to replace two very good goaltenders in Chad Veltri and Francis Bover, who did yeoman's work for us last year. And that's one of the things that we'd like to improve on, is not giving up as many shots, because I think we tired Chad out, and you could see him get a little bit fatigued as the year went on. So we want to do a better job of limiting shots and limiting attempts, and allow these goalies just to have to mix in a big save instead of be as random. We were getting peppered at times last year. So I think that our experience will help us and not do that as much this year.
Do we have any other questions for Coach?
Hey, Coach, I have a question.
Sure. Yep, Oliver, go ahead.
What was the thought behind scheduling 3 exhibition games within the span of 48 hours, start time to start time, and what are you hoping to gain as a staff and as a team from those?
Well, we basically didn't have any games scheduled those first 2 weeks, and because of our non-conferences, games are much later. But the thought process is I would have loved to do that last year when everybody was freshmen, and we had the opportunity to go play the national development team and Simon Fraser in kind of a little exhibition tournament showcase with Lake Superior, and we wanted to jump right on that and have get our guys some experience, and to be able to add Bowling Green along the way is outstanding, especially with 3 new goaltenders and 13 new players. We can get everybody at least two games of experience right off the bat, and play everybody. And that's the thing about college hockey is sometimes if you, because we dive right in, we usually play the first weekend. And if you don't play the first weekend, then you've got to be ready to go right off the bat. This allows us to get our freshmen some experience, some game time. And I think it's outstanding for us, and I would love to do it every year. I just don't think it's going to be feasible. But to have 3 games in 3 days and get everybody 2 games that you can work on things, you can try different people in different positions, you can try power play, penalty kill, add new people, and it's an open tryout. And I think those are things that guys like. And some guys go play 10 games in a year, and they're going to have an opportunity right off the bat to get some games under their belt.
Absolutely. I have one more question, Connor, if that's okay.
Yep, you can go ahead.
And Coach, what you've been to the Ralph more than a few times. What do you hope that this team gets out of going up to play at the Ralph against North Dakota, especially playing North Dakota, then following that up with AIC the next week?
Well, I mean, our league is so hard, and to be able to challenge ourselves out of conference will be outstanding. We've only played in up at the Ralph twice, and that would have been way back in when I didn't have gray hair. So it's been a while since we've been up there, but we've always, and I think if you look throughout the league, everybody likes to challenge themselves with some difficult games. And to be able to do that against North Dakota, we're also going to the Arizona State tournament. Last year we went to Minnesota. So to be able to do that is a feather in your cap, and it helps with recruiting. It helps with your players getting to play in front of areas that they normally don't get to go. I know all of our Western Canadian parents are excited about us going up to North Dakota. So you want to be able to get some premier games locked in and to be able to go out and compete. And we learned a lot from last year playing Minnesota, and we kept it close. And we were there at the goalie was pulled at a 3-1, and we had a post to make it. We could have made it 3-2 with under a minute to go. So you learn a lot from those games and a lot from those experiences.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I just want to open it up one last chance here before we move on. Any other questions for Coach? All right, looks like we're all set. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, moving along here. Next up is Coach Brian Riley from Army. Coach, are you with us?
I'm here, Connor.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. I know our schedules and your schedule are kind of crazy right now, but we appreciate the time. Coach Riley, entering your final season at Army. I just want to say before we get into it and before you make your opening statement, definitely a big year. Your last media day, and I just want to speak for the conference when we thank you for all that you've done for not only Army and your program, but college hockey as a whole. And I've only been in my role here for a short time, but it's easy to see just the great impact that you've had on your players, your staff, everybody at West Point, and again, just college hockey as a whole. So I just wanted to say that and thank you before we get going here.
Well, Connor, thanks for the kind words. Yeah, it's I don't know. You just said in my last conference call that like this, seems like every day I'm reminded about something that this is the last, and just so grateful to obviously been a part of college hockey for a long time, and been around like everybody on the call, all the coaches, because that's what it comes down to, is the relationships, right?
Yes, sir.
I've been really fortunate to share in a lot of great relationships with so many wonderful hockey people. But saying that, here at West Point, we're excited about the season. Obviously, this is the time of year when everybody has a lot of positive energy. All your goals are still attainable. And, for us, it just, we're having a hard time getting out of this young cycle. I think last year, maybe 21 freshmen and sophomores, this year, 19. It's just hard getting old. That's the bad news, but the good news is with, I think 16 or 19 freshmen and sophomores, they have a lot of energy and they're excited. And I think if we were to play a game tomorrow, we'd probably have 15 or 16 freshmen and sophomores in the lineup. So our goal will be, as it is every year, to try to get our young guys good experience and hopefully as a team be playing our best hockey in the month of February going into March. So I'm free for any questions.
Yeah, Coach, thank you so much. Our first question is from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, you can go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you as always, Coach. How do you think Evan sort of developed when he got some more playing time? Him and Abrick sharing the load a little bit last year, and what are you hoping to see from him as your leader, especially developing the younger goalies you do have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're young in goal after Evan. He's really he's the only guy returning that has played a minute in any game, right? So I'm hoping that experience that he gained last year will give him confidence. He obviously won some big games for us. So you know what, hoping that as you do, I think with all of your older players, all your seniors, that their last year is their best year. And we're going to have to do a much better job protecting our goalies. We gave up way too many shots. We weren't a good defensive team last year, and we've talked about that a lot, and we're working hard to try to change that this season.
Next question we've got is from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, go ahead.
Coach, you guys have been on the ice now for a couple of weeks here, and is there anything particular that's stuck out to you so far?
You know what, the energy's been good. And I think Frank Serratori could relate to what I'm talking about here. It's hard being a freshman at any school, but certainly being plebes, first year players at a service academy. Gosh, like they are just trying to survive right now and figure things out. So I think every day they come up to the rink, they're really happy. And but I usually say with the young guys, we won't really see their full potential till maybe second semester. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to play them. We're going to throw them out there, and the older guys that we do have, you know what, Anthony, they've done a great job with our younger guys, kind of bringing them along, setting the example of how we want to do things here on and off the ice. So I've been really pleased with the cadets' effort so far.
And then Brent Kiefer, 13 goals for you last year. Kind of, what are your expectations for him here in year two?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, he had a big year. I think maybe 25 points last year, 13 goals. And like I was just talking about, I mean, he did that while being a plebe here at West Point. So I'm hopeful, and you can see it in his game right now. Like he's a lot more confident this year, because he knows what to expect every day. And but I think of all the guys on our team, I'm not sure if anyone has a passion for the game that Keefe does. So we're going to need him. Like we're going to need him to take a step from where he was last year. But I know that's something that he doesn't shy away from, and he's excited to have a big year.
Thanks, Coach. Next question we've got is from Chris Lurch. Chris, go ahead.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Chris.
Zach McKelvey is going to take over next season. What was that
Yeah.
process like in naming him your successor?
Well, the first thing we did was we were able to change his name. So Zach McKelvey Riley just kind of made it easy. But no, I mean, you know, he's made such a great impression on the administration here. So, you know, they know that here at West Point, they have one of the finest young coaches in all of college hockey. And I mean, he's a West Point grad. He played here. He loves the program. He loves the school. And honestly, for me, Chris, you know what? Once I knew that okay, that Z was going to be the next guy, as bittersweet as it was for me to make the announcement, I'm happy knowing that, and it just made it easier for me. I'm really excited to see what he does with the program, because I know that he's going to do great things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, Coach, Matt Godowski named the preseason All-HA team. Can you just kind of talk about him for a minute and kind of what makes him such a great player?
Yeah. So obviously, I think everybody on the call knows Mac's dad, head coach Guy Godowski at Penn State. It's really evident, or it became evident last year, that he's a coach's son. You can tell that he's been raised around a hockey rink, his approach to the game. And, you know, he missed the first 7 games last year. And I think we started off 0-7. And then once we got him back in the lineup, we started to play better. And I think a big reason was because of Mac. He just, if you watch him when he has the puck, he just has tremendous hockey sense, and all of a sudden he'll make a play, and it kind of, you know, makes you get on the edge of the bench to say, wow. So again, like Keith, who you talked about, now he's in his sophomore year. You see him, the difference between being a plebe and a yearling, or a freshman and a sophomore here is night and day. And you know what? He's going to be a leader for us on the ice. And it was obviously great to see him recognized by the other coaches in the league. And as good of a player he is, and I know a lot of guys say this about their players, but man, he is a wonderful, wonderful young man. And so he's the type of person that you want, obviously representing your program on the ice, but also representing it off the ice. We're very lucky to have him, and you know, look forward for a big year from him.
We've got another question from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, you can go ahead.
Great.
Coach, I know you and I talked about this, you know, earlier a little bit, but that final home game in February,
Yep.
obviously it's against AIC. I mean, I would think, you know, it just happened to play out that way, but if you could have handpicked your opponent, it probably would have been AIC.
Yeah, like obviously my son Brendan's on the bench, so I'll be on the bench with Jack, and Brendan's over there with Langer. Langer is somebody that I have the utmost respect for. I mean, I feel like he's part of the family. I really appreciate all that he did for our program when he was here as an assistant coach. I mean, he and Zach McKelvey we were in a bad spot when those two guys came in. They helped change it. And I'm trying not to think of that last potential home game. I'd like to be able to kind of work our way in and get a home playoff series here. But if it does turn out that way, then you know what, I wouldn't want it to be anyone else. I just hope that we can get the upper hand that game.
Coach, we've got another question from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, you can go ahead.
Sure.
Hey, Coach. Talk about you and Z's legacy in terms of building the recruiting pipeline you guys have with the prep school, and if you want to mention anyone else who's kind of helped get that going, that'd be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had so many great coaches that I've worked with here that have worked extremely hard to get talented players in here. It's not easy. And you know what? I give all the credit to those guys. You know, that they kind of identify them, whether it's Z, who does a fantastic job, or, you know, when Langer was here, when Chris McKelvey was here, Rob Haberbush and Trevor Large. You know, they've always done a great job identifying the type of person that can come into West Point and, yes, be young men that will help the program, but more importantly, be great fits here at the academy. And you know, Z has just done an amazing job, and we've found ourselves using they call it USMAP, United States Military Academy Prep School, here at West Point. They don't have a hockey team, so the guys that go into USMAPs understand that they're not going to play hockey for a year. And right now we have our captain, Mikey Sacco, we have Brent Kiefer, and we have Owen Nolan, 3 players that decided to go that route. And I think it says a lot about them, that they would give up hockey for a year to do whatever it took to get into the academy. And it's just a way that Zach kind of said, hey, you know what, back to when Mikey Sacco did it, he said, Coach, you know, maybe we could use the prep school. And as it turned out, it worked out great. And we do have 3 players. Now, I wouldn't want to make a living out of doing this and have a team full of guys that didn't play hockey for a year, but it really helped prepare those guys more so in the classroom, so they could come in here to West Point and be successful, as all 3 of them are here. But really, Oliver, again, like, I'm so grateful for all the assistant coaches that I've worked with that have done an amazing job going out and identifying players that we can bring here to West Point.
Absolutely. So you're saying it was kind of you and Z that came up with that, and Sacco was kind of the first. Those guys are the first crop of that. Yeah, and I'll give Z the credit. You know, he's a much smarter guy than me, so you know, he's always thinking of things like that and thinking outside the box. And if you want to be a good head coach, you better surround yourself with good assistant coaches. And you know what? I truly believe that I have one of the best in Z, and my wife would make me say, don't forget Jack. Like, but you know what? Like I said, Oliver, the assistant coaches that I've been fortunate to work with have all been phenomenal. And I'm really grateful to all of them. Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Thank you, Coach Riley. We appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and move on. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And I know your schedule is busy today, so we appreciate your time.
All right, Connor, thanks for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, moving on. Our next coach is Andy Jones from Bentley. Going to ask Coach Jones to make an opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks for putting this on, Connor. Yeah, our team's certainly excited about the upcoming year. We felt as though we made some good strides last year in terms of some of the habits and the details that we want to play with moving forward, and try to kind of like we had a pretty good identity creation year. So we're excited about what lies ahead. We certainly, at least from it was my first year in the league, I gained a tremendous amount of respect for just the challenge of the league itself, and that's a couple things. That's the condensed schedule. The short regular season is incredibly difficult to manage, and you put travel on top of that, and then the parity throughout the league is excellent. So I found it to be a tremendous challenge, and our team's excited for it.
First question we've got is from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, you can go ahead.
Coach, of course, last year you host a playoff game, and the house was packed, the student section was full. I mean, there was a good product on the ice. When you think about the future of Bentley hockey, I mean, is that the expectation? Is that what we should expect to see?
That's a good question. It's not what I'm focusing on. I think there's excitement. I think there can be excitement in the building. I think there can be the university, I think after year one showed us that they'll support the team. As far as like anything result related, I'm not going to go there. I think those are byproducts of doing a lot of other things correct. So to say that we're just going to expect to be there at the end of the year and hosting a playoff game, I would certainly hope we'd be that fortunate. But man, there's a lot of work that goes into getting yourself in that spot. And I think we're willing to do that work. I think we have a group of guys that are connected and committed to each other. So that's really encouraging. I'm excited about the group, but yeah, we generated a little bit of excitement last year, and we certainly hope to build off that. That would be a good thing.
Next question we've got is from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned the hard work and coming back and trying to be at that spot at the end of the year. Who are some of your returning guys that you're maybe looking to see take the next step, either in energy or skill this year, and skill development this year? Excuse me.
Sure. Great question. I mean, I think we have a handful of guys that are primed to take another step. I think of Tucker Hodgson first on he's kind of the leader of our defensive group. Man, he's got a lot of good qualities as a human being and as a player, and I think he wants to have a really good senior year, and I've seen really good steps from him in the preseason in terms of the things that he needed to work on, focus on. He's a really good leader for us. I think Stevie Castagna is another guy who could take a step for us, and we're excited on the back end for some of the other guys to take another step. I think Hasley in net has another step in him too. He got a little bit more playing time down the stretch last year, and this will be an opportunity for him to earn even more playing time this year. So we'll see how he does with that. And he's another one that I'm encouraged by early on.
I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. Do we have any more questions for Coach Jones? All right, Coach, I think we're all good then. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, and now we are moving on to our final coach of the day, Coach CJ Maritolo from Sacred Heart. And just to recap from our coaches poll discussion at the beginning, Sacred Heart was chosen as the preseason favorite to win the AHA among our coaches poll and balloting. They received 102 points and 5 first place votes. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Coach and have him give an opening statement, and we will go from there.
Hey, Connor. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for everybody on who supports our league and does a great job in supporting our great sport. So thank you. Yeah, our group, I would say it was very disappointed with what happened last year. And I'll tell you, since guys started coming back, this summer, there's been an absolute commitment at all levels to get it right. There is a belief within our team right now, and I think any team is right now, you're trying to get confidence. That's so important. And there's a certain feel and a vibe with a team that has confidence, and we're working on that every day. And our guys, our leadership group's doing a tremendous job. They're hungry and they're inspired. And there's no question, looking at this league top to bottom, it's going to be a dogfight. So many good teams, so many good coaches, so many good players. It's going to be a fun year, I think, for Atlantic hockey.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question here from Anthony at College Hockey News. Anthony, you can go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the guys being disappointed with the way last year, finished, and obviously you picked first in the coaches poll this year. And, it seems like the last couple of years, you guys been picked, top three. It shows the respect that the rest of the league, has for you guys. Kind of what do you have to do to get over that hump and check those boxes that you want to check at the end of the year?
Yeah, well, obviously being chosen first by your peers is flattering. It's very humbling. There's so many good teams, as I said, but at the end of the day, we're probably not going to talk much about it, to be honest. But at the end of the year, we evaluate ourselves as coaches, what we could have done better. We have obviously evaluate our talent. Where do we need to strengthen our group? And I think my assistant coaches have done a really good job in finding players that we felt we needed to take another step. We wanted to get bigger. We wanted to get heavier. We wanted to get harder. And I think we've addressed that. I just think, in the playoffs last year, losing in that first round at home opened our eyes to some things. So I think we're going to play. We want to be a team that teams hate playing against us. When they say, how was it to play against Sacred Heart? We wanted people to say we hate it. We want to be really hard to play against, play with a little bit more swagger than we have in the past physically. So that's what we've addressed. And I think that's what we need to do to take the next step as a program.
And then, two of your top three goal scorers from last year have graduated. Who are some players you're kind of looking at to step up and step into that role and lead the offensive charge?
Yeah, so far I've been very impressed with our depth up front. You could look to Marcus Joggin as a player that we'll count on. He's been playing well in the fall. You have Tyler Giardosi, who's done very well in our league. Matthew Guerra, another young man who's played, obviously, as you know, from Holy Cross. Those guys are proven guys that have done well in the league point-wise. Been very impressed with the young man Trudeau from Maine. He's looked very talented offensively. And Daniel Ibrahim is a senior who exploded last year for 9 or 10 goals for us. So we think we have some offense in our arsenal. I think that'll be a strength of our team, being able to produce offense. But at the end of the day, teams that win are teams that keep pucks out of your net, and that'll be our focus.
Next question we've got is from Oliver at Seymour Sports. Oliver, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I got two questions for you.
Sure.
What did you guys see in Paul Minahan when you decided to start recruiting him? What does he bring to the team? Also in net, are you thinking open competition, or do you kind of have an incumbent that you want to go with this year?
Yeah, Minahan, saw him out in the USHL, liked his size, liked his hockey sense. He's always around the puck. We feel we haven't seen the best of him in terms of his growth. I think he could still fill out. He could become heavier, stronger on the puck. And once he does that, I think he'll be someone that will be able to possess the puck in the offensive zone, hang on to pucks, make plays. And he has a good defensive stick too. So we think he's going to be able to play a real solid 200-foot game for us this year. And in the net, we have belief in all our goalies, and we're going to let them battle it out to start the year, Oliver.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have any other questions for Coach? All right, Coach. I think we're all good then. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Connor. Thanks for making the timing work for me.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks for being flexible. Appreciate it.
All right. Yep. Bye-bye, guys.
Listen, everybody. You couldn't because you're on ice.
I was on the ice.
All right. Let me get this figured out here. There we go. All right. Well, thank you to our coaches. That will conclude our media day for 2024-25. We are looking forward to a great season just around the corner. It's going to be very exciting. A lot of great things happening in Atlantic hockey, and it's going to be a great season. Thank you all for your participation today, our media members and our coaches and our conference staff. A video recording of today's call will be available later this afternoon on the Atlantic Hockey website and YouTube page. Here's to a great season, and everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Connor.
Thanks, Connor.